Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to talk about the equality of women and what it means to fight for the equality of women. I want to start off by using a verse in the Quran to set the topic. This is from Surah 33, verse 35. Surely men who surrender unto Allah, and women who surrender, and men who believe, and women who believe, and men who obey, and women who obey, and men who speak the truth, and women who speak the truth, and men who persevere, and women who persevere, and men who are humble, and women who are humble, and men who give alms, and women who give alms, and men who fast, and women who fast, and men who guard their modesty, and women who guard their modesty, and men who remember Allah much, and women who remember Allah much. Allah has prepared for them forgiveness and a vast reward. This is a very interesting verse that describes the qualities of a Muslim, someone who surrenders to Allah, someone who submits, accepts, commits to the message that there is only one God, and the men who believe and women who believe, and the obedience and speaking the truth, and persevering and being humble, giving in charity, fasting, guarding modesty, and remembering Allah much. So all the qualities of a good Muslim, we are shown that it is men and women who do both things, who do all these things, and Allah has prepared a vast reward and forgiveness for them. So there are references in the Quran to the complete equality of women with men. There are verses that say that Allah has created both Adam and Eve, Adam and Hawa, out of a single being. Not Adam first and then Hawa out of him, out of his rib, as is the popular biblical reference says. This is a spiritual being out of which were both created, the first man and the first woman. And that is the foundation of the equality of men and women. And it's unfortunate that in the history of humanity that men have taken the upper role, the ruling role, the kingly role, the dominating role, the domineering role. And this idea that men are always fit to rule, whereas women have to be secondary, is a lie and a poison that has infected us and affected us and really crippled humanity. Because I don't need to tell you, but none of us would be here without women. None of us would be here without women. Without a woman caring enough to bear a child for enough time to raise that child, to make sure that child grows up into a decent human being, none of us would be here. History shows that men are either working or they're off at war or they're, starting up trouble or something like this. And it is, history is a very dark record on the actions of men. And we have to face that. We have to look at that honestly and not just gloss over it because we don't want to hear it as men. We don't want to, not interested. The world is where it is because men have not fully taken their role as full Muslim men who have duties to Allah and duties to each other and duties to women and duties to children. We all haven't taken that. Otherwise, there would be fewer wars, there would be fewer abuse, there would be fewer conflicts, there would be, there wouldn't be so much fire. And we have to take a good, long, and hard look at that. And women have been the biggest casualties of this male-centric way of shaping life and doing life and governing life. And the word patriarchy is often used to describe this idea that men should rule, men should govern. The father is always the head of the household. The father is always right. The woman stands behind him or next to him, obedient and subservient. The president of the company is a man. The president of a country is always a man. And women have to take these secondary roles and so on. And a little of that is changing. A little of that is changing. But across the board, there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And one of the things that we have to look at is women are spiritual beings from Allah. We have to acknowledge this. We have to recognize this. Women are powerful spiritual beings from Allah. And Allah has given them gifts and talents and skills and capabilities and abilities and superpowers. I mean, my mother has superpowers. My wife has superpowers. My daughter has superpowers. These are not ordinary mortals. These are super powerful beings from Allah. And I know because they have helped me in my life. When I've been narrow-minded, they have helped me open up. When I've been unforgiving, they have helped me to be more forgiving. Where I have been distracted and kind of not fully present, they have helped me be fully present. So I am here in this world because of Allah's grace and my mother. I am where I am in this life because of Allah's grace and my wife's encouragement. And, I am a father of a daughter, of a young girl. And I feel as a man that I owe it to them and I owe it to Allah to do everything I can to help to transform this society, so that it is not male-centric, so that it is not man-centric, so that everything is not ruled by men, governed by men, dictated by men. All the policies, laws, and institutions built by men, for men, by men, and it's all masculine energy, and it has to get balanced. It has to be the way Allah describes in this verse, the men and the women, the men and the women, the believing men, the believing women, the patient men, the patient women, the women who remember Allah much and the men who remember Allah much. It's a partnership. It's a partnership. If it's a hierarchy, then it's off track. then it is something different. Somebody's going to get the short end of the deal, right? Somebody's not going to get their full God-given rights and abilities respected and allowed to flourish. The space for doing so is not going to be there. And I'll tell you this, patriarchy and this kind of male-centric point of view is so deeply embedded that I've got boys telling my little girl that, she can't, run as fast or be as strong or hold a sword. Little kids play with little toy swords. I got boys already telling her in kindergarten and first grade she can't hold a sword because that's something boys do. She can't like the color blue because the assigned color for her is pink. It's 2020. And the boys are already indoctrinating her. They're already telling her what she can do, who she is, what she's going to become, what she's going to like, what her favorite color should be. And it blows my mind that this is happening, and it's happening right in front of me. And so I teach her to resist, to fight back, because nobody decides. Nobody decides for her what her favorite color is going to be. Nobody decides, not even me, right? What she is capable of doing, what she is going to do, what her role is, what abilities she has, what superpowers she has, what she's going to do with her life, what's her destiny. Nobody decides that. No human being decides that. Not even me, not my father, not her brother. No man will decide that for her. Only Allah will put any kind of limits he wants to on her. Only Allah. Only Allah. Say it again. Only Allah. And as a man, we have to stand up for the women in our lives and the women around us in society and women on the other side of the world. And we have to say, as a man, I am sorry. I am sorry that the system of inequality exists, has perpetrated and infected and contaminated every aspect of society. And I am going to do everything in my power to dismantle that system, to break it, to tear it down, to just take it apart and help you rebuild a system based on equality. The equality of women and men together in partnership, building the future. And I'm going to do my part. And sometimes we think that, we're nice guys. We're just nice guys. We don't go around hurting women, so we're nice guys. There's, I've done my part. I'm a nice guy. I don't go around oppressing women. I don't go around inflicting violence or verbal abuse on women, and therefore I'm a nice guy. But that's not enough. That's not enough. You can't just be a nice guy and call it a day and leave the matter alone. Women are still suffering. Women are still under the weight of this thing called men rule the world, men call the shots, men decide everything. And until that becomes equal, where women call the shots, and some women rule the world, and some women decide everything, and we need a period of balance. We need a period of balance. And so until that happens, I have to stand up and fight for the equality of women. And some of you might say, what do you, I don't like the word fight. It seems very unspiritual. It seems very unspiritual to say fight. But I tell you, spirituality is not just sitting and meditating and blissing out, and seeing light and angels and all of this, and going to caves and, getting all, worked up into your own spiritualness, Spirituality is also truth, goodness, beauty, justice, equality in the world. It's not just personal enlightenment, it is also social creation of a city, of a village, of a country, of a world that reflects the values and interests of Allah. It's not enough to just be interested in your personal enlightenment, in your personal journey, in your personal progress on your spiritual path. Your spiritual path has to include creating a good and just and beautiful society in which all the members are allowed to be full spiritual beings from Allah with the freedom and the creativity that Allah has given them to live up to their full potential. And right now we live in a society that does not allow women to live up to their full potential. And when men, block women from living up to their full potential, men can't live up to their full potential. Then the men become oppressors and tyrants and dictators. And that's not living up to our full potential. So it's almost the way of life that men have been living needs to be broken open and evolved. And the way of life that women have had to live because of that oppressive hand on top of them, that has to be lifted up and let women flourish, let them expand, let them take over, let them take the leadership roles. Because, we need the other half of humanity to step up and speak up and lead the way. Because, we've run the ship for a long time. It's time to give somebody else control of the ship. It's time to give somebody else control of the ship. And it is even in our own selfish interests as men, because blocking women blocks us, right? If you're on a spiritual path, if you're blocking anybody, your path is blocked. You cannot be on a spiritual path and keep women down. And one of the just fascinating things that I've found is, all the prophets in the Quran, they're all men. There is no woman mentioned. And there is no woman mentioned of a woman who brought scripture. Why not? Right? Do you ever wonder that? Why not? Right? So we read these spiritual people like Mansur al-Hallaj and Rumi and Ibn Arabi and all of these spiritual personalities that we have in the celebrity index of Islam. And, they talk about meditation and reflection and all of this and spiritual journeys and they saw the light of Allah and they saw angels and they went to the different heavens and they met the prophets and all of these beautiful spiritual experiences. Not one of them came down and said, you know what? This society is oppressing women and I'm sick and tired of it. I am sick and tired of it. Rumi didn't say it. Ibn Arabi didn't say it. Mansur al-Hallaj, Mr. An-al-Haq didn't say it. None of these people said it. So what is the quality of their enlightenment? May I ask? If I may. What is the quality of their enlightenment? Because when I look around and I see women unable to make the same salary or get the promotions or have the leadership positions, or when a woman in the public eye makes a mistake, people come down on her harder than they would ever come down on a man. You see these inequalities, you see these things. And boys in school and boys in high school and boys in college and it's just the way they behave toward girls and young women and things like that. It all needs to be rewritten. It all needs to be rewritten and rethought and redesigned and transformed. And so what I would say to all the men out there, don't be a nice guy, be a fierce ally. Don't be a nice guy, be a fierce ally. Stand up for women, fight for women, because it's going to require a fight. Because men who are programmed with patriarchy will not give up power. They will not share power. It will require a fight. And spirituality is not just sitting peacefully in a cave looking for light. It is also creating a society of justice and equality, because Prophet Muhammad did go into a cave and receive the Quran, but guess what? He came out of the cave and he fought in Mecca. And when he did not have enough support in Mecca to fight, he went to Medina, got more people, came back, and created the society that Allah had envisioned for Mecca, and then Medina, and so on. So let us not be nice guys. Let us be fierce allies of women, and let us not stop fighting, working side by side in partnership with women until we create that society of equality. And we owe it to our mothers. We owe it to our wives and our sisters. We owe it to our daughters. We owe it to our granddaughters. And we owe it to Allah. We owe it to Allah. So this has to be done. This has to be done.